This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mayor Dawn Morgan. I'd like to welcome you to the Kernersville Board of Aldermen meeting. This meeting is a continuation of our June 2nd regular monthly meeting. It is now Thursday, June 4th. This meeting was continued to 4 p.m. today, and so we will continue on the same agenda that was posted for the June 2nd meeting. The first order of business today is to consider the item 1A, the public hearing annexation, a voluntary annexation petition by Timothy G. Blackburn and Thomas W. Blackburn for property located at 1137 Glenview Drive containing 47.129 acres more or less, and the consideration of the ordinance annexing said property. But because this is a remote meeting, first we're going to take a roll call of all the aldermen and staff that are present at the meeting. Mayor Pro Tem Jenny Fulton.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Joe Penix.
Present.
Thank you. Alderman Bruce Boyer.
Present, thank you.
Alderman Kenny Cruz.
Present.
Thank you. Alderman Chris Thompson.
Present, thanks.
Thank you. And I see Town Manager Curtis Swisher.
Present.
Thank you. And Town Attorney John Wolf.
I'm present, Mayor.
Thank you. Fire Rescue Chief Scott Alderman.
Present.
Thank you. Curtis, what other staff do we currently have on the call?
On the call, we have Finance Director Franz Leader, Parks and Rec Director Ernie Pages, Planning Director Jeff Hatling, Adam Hutchins, IT Director. We have Crystal Tanner, HR Director is in the courtroom. Chief Summers is in the courtroom. Public Services Director Dorn Maltba is in the courtroom.
And is Keith Hooker present as well?
Keith Hooker's, he's in the courtroom as well.
Hello, Mayor. Hello, Board.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the courtroom?
We have the attorney for the petitioners here, and we also have Nanda McGee from the police departments here.
Okay. And are there any other staff on the call that don't have their webcams on?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, this is a continuation of the June 2nd meeting. We had the public hearing on Tuesday. The public hearing was open, closed. We took public comments. Keith Hooker or Curtis Swisher, have we heard any more public comments on item 1A?
No, Mayor, we have not.
Okay. Does the board have any questions of staff or of the petitioner, who I understand is in the courtroom? In that event, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Chris Thompson makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe Penix. All right, so I'll do a roll call vote. Chris Thompson, how do you vote?
For approve.
Alderman Penix,
I vote for approval.
Mayor Pro Tem Fulton,
Approval, thank you.
Alderman Bruce Boyer.
I vote to approve, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Kenny Cruz.
Approve, thank you.
Okay, it's unanimous. Keith and Curtis, is that everything we need on that vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next item is item 1B, public hearing on rezoning. Jennifer Fountain, attorney for owner for property located at 1137 Glenview Drive, being all of PIN number 6874-47-1077, containing 47.13 plus or minus acres. Petitioner requests a single-phase special use district rezoning from RS20 to RM8S. Requested uses residential building townhouses. This is zoning docket K780. and B1 is consideration of an ordinance rezoning said property. We had the public hearing on Tuesday night. The public hearing was open, comments were accepted, the public hearing was closed. Mr. Swisher or Mr. Hooker, have we received additional comments from the public?
Madam Mayor, we have not.
Okay, and again, it's my understanding to the board that the representative of the petitioner is in the courtroom if you have any questions. You heard the facts of this zoning on Tuesday night. You had a chance to review it. Is there a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Motion by Chris Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Penix. All right. Alderman Thompson, how do you vote?
Approval.
Okay, Alderman Penix.
Approval.
Mayor Pro Tem Fulton.
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer.
Approval. Thank you.
Alderman Cruz.
Approval. Thank you.
Thank you. It passes unanimously. Is that all we need on that matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to the public hearing on the budget. Mr. Swisher, do you want to bring us up to date on this?
We prepared three different budget ordinances based on the discussion the other night with the board. One of those ordinances has the budget as it was presented the other night, which is the only three differences were what the funding would be from one of the nonprofits. So we have the funding on one of them at $25,000 is the funding for the Kernersville Museum. The other ordinance has the funding for the Kernersville Museum at $30,000, and the other ordinance has the funding at $36,000. So that's the only difference on the expense side. On the revenue side, the change would be the appropriation of fund balance, either $489,000, the other one would be $493,000, or $500,000. So that would be I have those three ordinances. If the board would like to see all three of those or any of those, I can be glad to put them up and share the screen. I can only do one at a time, of course, but be glad to put any of those up. Now, of course, if the board chooses to have something else in the budget, we would need some time to prepare that ordinance, and it would probably be, I would recommend doing it at the June 30 meeting as opposed to today.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, do you have any comments on the budget or anything you'd like to see added or changed?
No, Mayor, after much discussion and questioning, which, by the way, I want to say thank you to Curtis and Keith and Jeff Hatling for getting me all the request documentation over the past 24 hours. It was a lot. So with that, I feel comfortable going with the third one that was sent in an email, which is the museum getting $36,000, and we are appropriating our general fund by $500,000. So if y'all want to discuss it, that's fine. Or if you want to use this as a motion, I'm ready to go with that. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll second her motion, but I have one question.
Hang on, Jenny. Hang on, Chris. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, could you state that as a motion? Since it's the budget and such an important matter.
Absolutely.
Rationale for going ahead and voting on it today, but if you could have stated as a formal motion.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that we approve budget ordinance with the Kernersville Museum receiving $36,000, which would be a fund appropriation of $500,000. I would like to make the motion for that be our budget this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Alderman Thompson, do you still want to second it?
I do want to second it, and I think she answered my question. We're not just approving for this funding for the museum. We're actually voting on the budget as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, I'll second her motion. Thank you.
Okay, Kenny Cruz, is there any comments or questions you have on the budget or the motion?
No, ma'am, and I'd like to approve it also.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll take a roll call vote in a couple minutes, but I want to ask everybody first. Alderman Penix, do you have any questions or comments on the budget before we vote?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Alderman Boyer, do you have any questions or comments on the motion before we vote?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. My concern when this first was discussed on Tuesday night was that we dealt with all of our nonprofits the same, that they were getting the same allocation that they'd received in the past. And if we do fund it at $36,000 for the Kernersville Museum, they are getting the same that they've done in the past. I too have had conversations with Curtis to better understand what the museum is doing in terms of the Bellamy House at their expense, with their resources, what they're doing actually at the depot to try and do a little restoration there or improvements there. And the programming that they're planning to do with the new historic structures there. So I feel comfortable with restoring their $36,000 support because that is not an increase actually from what they received last year, and it would recognize the good work that they're doing on behalf of the town. So I do support the budget with the increase from the original budget that would restore the Kernersville Museum to 36. So I would support Jenny's motion when we do a roll call.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Fulton. I have a second by Alderman Chris Thompson. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote on this motion?
Approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Thompson, how do you vote on this motion?
Approval, thanks.
Thank you. Alderman Penix, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Okay, Alderman Cruz, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. So it is passed unanimously. Curtis, we appreciate your hard work and the hard work of the staff to bring us a balanced budget that did not raise the taxes, property taxes this year, keeping the same rate as our prior year, and appreciate all you did work to make this happen. I'm glad that we were able to do the budget vote today because in this environment, it does take a little longer to get supplies and equipment and that sort of thing. And so maybe this will give you the lead time you need to have confidence to make the arrangements for the town that you need to be ready to start our new fiscal year, July 1st. So appreciate your hard work.
Thank you, and thank all of the board for your support on the budget.
So Mr. Swisher, is there an update as to Kernersville Brewing Company and the request for outdoor seating?
Yes, ma'am. I'll share that on the screen. Mr. Wolf sent that to the board a while ago, and I will share what he recommended. You have that on the screen. Mr. Wolf and I looked at it, and we feel that this is the best way to do that. And it will also, what it does is it will also allow them, there was a question about whether or not they could put tables out front. This will allow them to do that if they can meet the site distance as well as comply with the ADA regulations as they relate to area on sidewalks. So this will allow them to do it out back as was initially brought up, and it will also allow for them to do it out front, provided they can meet the requirements I just spoke of. So you have Mr. Wolf's idea or his proposed motion there in front of you, and he's also on the call. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have regarding this.
We discussed this in depth on Tuesday night, but does anybody have a question for Mr. Swisher or Mr. Wolf at this time?
I don't have a question, but I would like to thank Mr. Wolf for looking further into this to utilize the front of the building as well. I think this definitely helps them out and hopefully will help other businesses if possible, but I'm in favor of make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Thompson with the wording recommended by our town attorney. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Fulton. I'll do the roll call to vote. Alderman Thompson, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Penix, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz, how do you vote?
Approval, thank you.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Mr. Swisher, is there further business that this board needs to do before we adjourn?
No, ma'am.
I have one quick
Okay.
question, Mayor.
Sure.
Curtis, so now that that's passed, are they good to go this afternoon or be ready to go for tomorrow for outside seating and then out front as long as they meet the ADA requirements?
Yes, ma'am, and certainly out back, they can start it now and start out front. My advice would be for them to contact probably Doran Maltba at Public Services so that he can go by in the front and make sure that they have the tables back from the line of sight.
Is Doran with you?
Doran is here, yes, ma'am.
Can he meet me up there when we get off this meeting? I'll come up there.
Yes, I think so. Hold on, let me ask you.
Keith, if you will print that, I'll sign it.
While they're discussing, Madam Mayor, could I mention something that I think is of good news and will be of good news to the Board of Aldermen?
Please do.
I heard within the last 10 minutes from Piney Grove Nursing Home that they are COVID-free.
That's good news.
The patients and staff have all been tested twice and have come back negative. There have been some false positives in the mix of things, and they are COVID-free. And I thought that would be good news to the board and to all the citizens of the town.
Thank you.
Does Forsyth
That is
County
great news.
alter their statistics then, John?
Honestly, Bruce, I don't know. I would certainly think they should. But I honestly don't know.
They do. They will show it as cases that have cleared up
Okay,
when they send out the report, daily report. They'll show that as cases that are no longer active.
okay.
And Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, he said he can meet you there after the
Okay.
meeting.
All right, thanks, Doran. Thank you, Curtis. And again, thank you, Mr. Wolf, for working on this. It's real important to our downtown and to our small business. So thank y'all so much. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, if there's no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Boyer. I have a second by Alderman Thompson. Would you like to make a second?
Second, yes, thank you.
I have a second by Alderman Thompson. I really just want to say all in favor, raise your hands, but I have to do it as a roll call. So Alderman Thompson, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fulton, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Alderman Penix, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Boyer, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Cruz, how do you vote?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.